Hello, Miss Geller. Nice to meet you. Should I call you Miss Geller, or would you prefer to go by something else?
DeAnn's fine.
DeAnn. Okay. My name is Joe. I'm Joe Willems. I'm your integrative health coach with OCC's coordinated care team. And feel free to call me Joe as well.
Thank
But I'm
you.
glad you decided to come and meet today. I wanted to confirm a few of our client forms that we asked you to fill out. But first, I'd like to hear from you on how did you find out about our integrated health coaching program?
I was in a class and um, one of the administrators came in to let us know that they were having the new program come out, and that's how I found out about you.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. So what our plan today is to go over your personal inventory form that you already filled out and come up with, some really measurable kind of basic, what's a plan that we could do over the next 3 months. And I have your completed confidentiality and privacy form, and also our coaching agreement, which is really sets out the expectations for both of us in our this coaching relationship. But I'm here to support you. I'm not going to treat or diagnose. And just FYI, everything that you share in this session stays private. Only the medical service providers that you have given permission to share, will have any kind of access to the records. Um, the exception, I do need to point out, the exception is if, as we're talking, if anything comes up where you want to share something about there's a harm or hurt that happened to you or that you're involved in, I may need to then tell my supervisor. And my supervisor may need to share that information with law enforcement. Just a FYI if that comes up. But I also have given, I see in our consent form, you've given I may be asking you some questions and I want you to know that you don't have to answer them. That's anything you share, that's up to you, what you want. I'm going to be documenting on my pad just the things that you might be saying. So you might see me taking some notes, and that's because I want to make an accurate record that I'm going to put down. So I
Okay.
hope that won't be a distraction at all.
No.
And at the end, I'm also going to provide you a quick summary of today's session in an email that you
Okay.
can refer to. But do you have any questions or clarification, any comments that you want to make?
Not so far.
Okay, thank you. So let's go dive into that personal health inventory. Um,
Okay.
and as you're bringing that up, I'll bring mine up too. And I just want, like, how did it make you feel actually filling the form out? Anything come up for
Um,
you?
yeah, it's a little hard to do because sometimes you just want to ignore things happening, and it makes you not ignore things going on.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So, I mean, one of the first things right off the bat is what really matters to you in your life? Like, what's that thing that's really important?
Family and friends, and getting to live life.
Hmm. Yeah.
So,
What does getting to live life mean to you? What's that look like?
um, going out and doing things, not being stuck in one place, which is everybody's feeling that right now because of COVID. Um, Being physically able to go do whatever I want to do, um, like to get back into dancing again.
Hmm.
Um, Being able to go hiking with my husband, kayaking, and having the energy and motivation to get up and go do stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll talk more about that too. And so I think you kind of already shared a little bit of this, but um, what brings you that sense of joy and happiness to your life?
Um, Being with my husband
Uh-huh.
and spending time with my best friend. The theater, dancing, arts and crafts, being able to help people, that sort
Wow.
of thing.
I mean, what, so I'll dive a little deeper on that dancing. What kind of dancing? Do you like to do anything in particular?
Well, before I messed up my knee, ballet
Wow.
and jazz.
Uh-huh.
Um, my body type, the way my body's put together, I'd never be a ballerina. That's just, I don't have enough of a waist. So the physical characteristics I have, I'd never be a prima ballerina, but I love the dancing. I love the workout. It's a head to toe workout if you have a good teacher.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And the flexibility that comes with it is great. And it improves all other forms of dance. I loved, when I was a kid, I'd like jazz. It wasn't until I was an adult that I had an appreciation for tap. But going back to tap would be fun. Used to enjoy ballroom and swing dancing.
Mm, that sounds
So,
fun.
yeah, it is a lot of
Yeah.
fun. But I have to worry about overstressing my knee and then being laid up for several days.
Yeah. Tell me more, what's going on with your knee?
um, Shoot, how many years ago now? Um, Probably about 25 years ago. I was working and climbing up a ladder to get um, something off a shelf for a customer, and I was right next to a cabinet. And when I went to step up, I hit the corner of a cabinet right at the outside corner of the patella, and it went in behind the patella.
Ooh, ouch.
And yeah, and when I did that, um, I actually lifted the top portion of the cabinet up off the body
Ooh.
when I did it. Um, and it didn't go away. So I finally went in and um, I had physical therapy and stuff, went for an MRI. They could never tell me exactly what kind of damage I did.
Mm-hmm.
But the physical therapist said, you're going to deal with this for the rest of your life.
Mm.
And
So
so now, if it's a certain temperature, my knee swells and it gets stiff and very hard to walk on, extremely painful.
yeah.
If I overuse it, it can really hurt. So that makes it hard to exercise. So I've put on weight, which makes it hurt anyway. And then you try to exercise, it hurts. So you're always paying, 2 steps forward and 3 steps back.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get around that.
So what I'm hearing is that you had a lot of things in your life that brought you a lot of joy,
Yeah.
that involved a lot of movement, and this accident changed those things.
Yeah,
Um,
it did.
I did hear you mention that one of those things that brings you joy is helping other people. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit more about that.
Just being able to help somebody when they need it. Nothing in particular, just having the means where you see somebody who needs help, whether it's, needing food or, a couple of bucks, whatever, just you're there on scene, you see they need help and being able to do it. I think that's why I enjoyed being an EMT.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Wow. That was your profession.
yeah.
For how many years were you EMT?
Successfully, about 3 years.
About 3 years. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was an in-house EMT.
Okay.
And unfortunately, the people I worked for didn't understand, weren't trained, and they tried to tell me how to do my job when they didn't have the first clue as to what my job actually was. And so it was a constant battle with them trying to get the job done correctly.
Yeah.
And so extremely frustrated. So most of the EMTs that I worked with, most of us left after a few years.
Well, it sounds like something that you would have gained a lot of skills in, especially in the helping field. You already mentioned
Yeah.
that gives you joy. So yeah. Was did you already have then? It sounds like you had your knee issue already at that time.
I did.
Yeah. How did that impact like working 40 hours a week for you?
Um, it wasn't easy. There were night, especially if I had to kneel on the ground for any length of time, that
Uh-huh.
was incredibly painful.
Yeah. So it reduced your mobility in that area.
A little bit,
Um,
yeah, enough to be a problem.
Well, that kind of leads to this next question that we have on here is if you follow the scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being miserable and 5 being that it's pretty great. So, rating your physical well-being, where would you kind of put yourself in that area?
Probably around a 2.
Okay, a 2.
Um,
Yeah.
I had a cardiac scare a few years ago that I'm still trying to deal with. Um, Hence my cutting out of caffeine. And I used to be a Coca-Cola fanatic, and I had to cut that out. And I'm still working on cutting soda out all the way. And I need to cut back on my chocolate even more than what I have.
So all those things affect your heart. Is that
Yeah,
how
it
it
can
affects you? What was the
give you what's
cardiac
called
scare?
tachycardia.
So
Huh?
you had a tachycardia scare? Tell me about
Yeah.
that.
Um, I was up at my parents' place, um, going on 3 years now, I guess. And it was incredibly stressful. My sister and I don't get along. And there's a whole bunch of family issues. Um, Luckily for me, it's not abuse or anything. It just, I'm the black sheep and never quite meshed with everybody else. Um, but my sister and I don't get along. So that was incredibly stressful. There had been fires up in the area, so there was a lot of smoke. And I was trying to help my mom go through a surgery that she had, which she's doing great with. And then one night she had a kitten. She had a kitten that they were raising, and it suddenly became sick. And I was actually holding it when it died.
Oh,
And then the very next day, my husband had to call me and tell me that our cat was dead, a cat that I had for several
oh,
years.
oh my goodness. That would sound like a lot to go through.
And then to top it off, those Starbucks refreshers that they
Yeah.
have? Not putting together the high amount of caffeine that was in it, I was having them actually double up the caffeine, not realizing, not thinking it through. So
Yeah.
I would mix 2 flavors of those refreshers and not have them add any water to it, and drinking the venti size. So I was like giving myself a huge shot of caffeine when
Yeah.
drinking those. Plus, at the time, I was drinking Coca-Cola a lot.
How did that affect your body?
It hit me with the tachycardia. And I mean, my heart rate was high. I didn't know what was going on at the time. I mean, I can spot it in other people, but for me, that when you actually feel it, it's totally a different thing. And we were coming home. My husband had drove up, and we were driving home in tandem. And I started having these palpitations and stuff, and it scared me. So we pulled over, and then what we were going to do is have AAA tow his car back down here, and he was going to drive in case I felt the need that I really needed to go to the hospital. Well, AAA gave us the runaround for some reason, and it's the first time in forever that I've ever had a problem with that. They couldn't get somebody to come do a long distance tow. And so my blood pressure went through the roof on top of me being scared and the
Yeah.
tachycardia and the palpitations. And
Yeah.
so I thought I was having a heart attack.
Yeah.
And luckily, I hadn't had a heart attack or anything like that. But it took about a year, and we finally realized, I got in and got my heart checked out, and they said there wasn't a problem, but I did need to start exercising and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Had already
Yeah.
started working on cutting out the caffeine because I found out that I was had caffeine. The other thing that I was on was Claritin D because I have hellacious allergies that go to my ears. I get a little stuffy and stuff like that, but my eyes don't usually turn red and water and swell shut the way my dad and sister do. And so I use Claritin D to help decongest um, and drain the eustachian tube so my ears drain and help cut down on all the other allergy problems. And
Yeah.
that stuff you're not supposed to take for more than like 7 days in a row. And I had forgotten that. And so I was up there for 2 weeks. So I had been taking it for 2 weeks straight. And I usually don't take medication like that on a daily basis because I want it to remain effective for me. I don't want to build up a tolerance for any of my medications.
Yeah.
And so but up there near Yosemite, I really needed it. And so I had been on it for 2 weeks. Well, Claritin D has the stuff that they make meth out of.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
even though I was an EMT, I never put that together. So it was like, great. So I had the stress of dealing with my sister. I had the stress of all the smoke in the air, the stress of 2 pets dying, overloading my system with caffeine and, what relates to speed, the amphetamine and all that. So I just really hit my system a lot during those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And
That's a
it did
lot. I mean,
damage.
so, where would you say that your mental, emotional well-being is now if you had to rate it like a 1 through 5?
I'm a
How would
3.
you You're 3 right now? And
Yeah.
if you had if you just to describe life in general, like how is your day-to-day life right now if you had to also doing 1 through 5, where would you put you?
Considering the fact that we're dealing with COVID, and that's a huge stressor, um, I'm doing okay. It probably a 2.5 to a 3. The main influence is COVID because I can't get out and do things. I haven't been able to go up and check on my parents and do stuff that I normally did for them.
Yeah.
So that piles on a lot of stress.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. If COVID wasn't an issue, I'd still be a 3, but I'd be a lot less stressful.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with 3. It gives you some place to go, but you're not scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, so as a health coach, I just wanted to ask you like how ready are you to make a change in your health? If you did it like this one's a scale of 0 through 10, 0 being like not really ready, and 10 being that you're ready. So what would you rate yourself now?
I'm at an 8
Okay.
simply because I can't just go to the gym to make use of weights and stuff. And with COVID and stuff and not being able to go out and do stuff, I kind of have it kind of hits my motivation. If I could just drop what I'm doing, go out and do what I want to do as far as exercise and stuff, I'd be at a 10, but
Mhm.
or probably more like a 9 because there's the knee thing, not wanting to stress it out so that I'm not laid up for 2 days afterwards.
Yeah. And how important on that 0 to 10 scale, how important is it to change your behavior? You
It's a
know, make
10.
this it's a 10. Oh, that tell me more about why it's a 10. That's
I've
exciting.
gained a lot of weight, and I definitely don't like the way I look.
Mhm.
1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
um, and I see family members who have had problems, and I don't want to have those health problems.
Yeah.
I have an aunt who is basically immobile. She's in a wheelchair or a scooter now rather than walking around.
Yeah.
Her mobility is completely cut off. She
Yeah.
used to travel. She and her husband would, get a wild hair and decide to take off. They don't do that anymore because she doesn't have the mobility.
Yeah. So I hear you saying that that prevention is a strong motivator for you right
Yeah.
now for that. And I know this might be kind of a hard question, but on a scale of 0 to 10 again, 0 being not confident and 10 confident, how confident are you that you could succeed in making some of these changes?
Probably about an 8.
Oh, okay.
Because
Yeah.
there's things that I've got to fight with that I will always have to fight with.
Hmm.
The knee being one of them. So, and some lingering depression things that get me depressed that they just are. There's no changing them. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is a really good starting point, and to look at our next form, which is that wallet card. And again, thank you for filling that out because it really kind of hones in on a couple areas. I see that like your map, your mission, aspiration, and purpose. That you said that you want to be able to go and do anything that you want to do.
yeah.
So you might have touched on a couple of those things, but um, what's like what are three things that are really important for you?
Short term, there's the trip to Maui
Oh,
next
nice.
October for
Uh-huh.
our 10-year anniversary. And there's some hiking that I would like to do there, plus snorkeling, maybe ocean kayaking, because they don't have any navigable rivers on Maui. Um, just feeling at ease in my own body, going out there, feeling okay wearing a swimsuit. Actually, I have to wear swim tights and a full length shirt because I burn like a lobster. But I'm one of those people who I'm either neon white or glow in the dark radioactive red. I have no nice tan in between. I'm one or the other, especially if I'm in Hawaii.
Wow,
Uh,
that sounds like a really great plan and an aspiration for wanting to make some of these changes. And
yeah.
if you identified some areas of strength and just a couple that might be a challenge, um, one of the things is just personal development. So, um, that's a strength for you that you mentioned, and tell me more about how that's a strength for you.
Um, I can zero in on something, and until I finish it, it's really hard for me to let go. Like I get ideas stuck in my head, and until I either get to a point where I can let it go, or um, I get to a point where I can release it and move on to something else, it totally occupies my brain, and it's really hard for me to let go of ideas.
Hmm.
So I
Yeah.
can be tenacious. Um, it got me through getting my bachelor's degree, even though I was working full time, going to school full time, and commuting. I did finally get it, but that also has left me burnt out. So I'm fighting burnout in school areas.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I don't have patience for all of these programs and all of these rigmarole that you have to go through. I want to go in, get my skills, and be done and get to work.
I
So
see that.
it's
I'm
good and
sorry.
bad.
Yeah, I would see. I mean, I love to hear you talk about that as a strength for yourself, and just being able to refer back to how that got you through a difficult, just time, to kind of a time management thing, and
Yeah.
actually achieve that goal. So, wow, that's a really
Unfortunately,
big.
time management is not can be, it is a problem for me. Um, because of that tenacity, I have things on my plate and I can't move on from one until I get to a certain point. But that sets me behind on other things. So it's a double-edged sword. It's good because I don't just give up right away, but on the other hand, it puts me back behind on other things that I need to get done too.
The goals that you wrote down, as far as being physically healthy. So, what I'm hearing is that the things that you want to do, that brings you joy and celebration, you're going to kind of hone in on that as the physical healthy part,
Yeah.
and and that what you wrote is related to eating healthier and getting movement back, is being able to quiet your mind and reduce your stress and all.
Yeah.
So what do you think that is something that you might be able to work on that would help quiet your mind and reduce your stress?
That one I'm at a loss for. I've seen apps for meditation and stuff like that. Maybe that would help if I can find something that works for me.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, have you ever heard of this phrase called mindfulness before?
I have. It doesn't always click,
Uh-huh.
but
Yeah.
um,
I mean, we right now with COVID, it's harder to get in person, with kinds of things, but there are some people that are practicing some mindful, like the Tai Chi, where it's out in the park
mhm.
and they keep at a distance, so,
Yeah,
and, people can go there and close their eyes and, participate in something like that. So, there are some community ones. I might be able to refer you to that.
that
Since
would
you
be great.
mentioned that Zoom's, and video is not your favorite thing to
Yeah,
do. So that might be a great way to start, because I think the movement, you work with if I understand it correctly, you work with your mind, and you're going very slow, and you're just kind of focused, maybe focused on the movement even, and
yeah,
breathing. So yeah, I'll write that down, Anne. And you also said that you were looking for a new physician. So,
yeah.
do you, what steps do you want to take towards making that happen?
Number one, I need to see who the providers are in our insurance plan,
Okay.
and um, so that's mainly just getting my husband to pull up our insurance plan and see what the list of doctors are. Who's
Okay.
in our area. I do prefer a female doctor.
Yeah. So, would you be willing to write that down? We'll write that down as one of the goals, and
Mhm.
the hopefully that we can meet again, and the next time we meet, we'll go over how our plan is happening. I thought it was probably good not to add too many things to that right off
Yeah.
the bat, because you actually have a lot of great ideas what to work on. But I thought,
Yeah.
if we focus on a few of them, then we can get back, and it's a good way to see that you're making progress
Yeah.
as well. So I really love that. And then you said something about your cardiac hypertension and osteoarthritis. So
Yeah.
is that the areas that you might be seeking some um, primary care support with?
Yeah. Something to help me get my knee so I can get out and exercise, lose the weight, which will help my knee
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
And getting out and moving will just help my my cardiac issues just by themselves. So,
Yes. Well, DeAnn, our session's almost over right now. I could just keep on talking to you for a while because you're so interesting, and I can, I just, I can also hear that you really care about people, and it sounds like you got a couple people that really care about you too.
yeah,
So you know, uh, just working on a few items to start with, as far as maybe just referring to some things that are in the park,
yeah,
and then I'm going to give you a follow-up email that will include, what we talked about here.
okay,
And I'm excited to hear, in a month we'll meet back together and just see how things are going, and we
okay.
can add a little bit more to that plan, just revise it a little bit. But it was so nice to meet you. And on the way out, if you want to just just arrange our next visit in about 4 weeks, and
Sounds
that
good.
would be perfect. All right, thanks so
All right,
much. Bye.
thanks.